Dad's obsession with my weight turned Absive, so I've decided to cut ties and protect myself from his cruel outbursts. I am 26 male and I just got out of mild surgery. I am 192 meters and around 120 plus kilograms. This is important for later. Recently I had an important mild surgery to remove a pigment on my body that could cause me more health problems down the line, and because of it my body is doing its best to heal after the surgery, and I sadly got bit sick also since it's getting cold. I am a mess, sick, body still healing and a bit tired from it all, but of course I am doing the best I can because I live on my own. Me and my dad do have a side job where we work on electrical products reviews for companies and I help him out. A part of this side job is filling up paperwork in a PDF documentation. I told my dad that I am a bit sick and that of course I am healing, so he offered to bring me some much needed groceries and even some medication. Throughout our work days with him I've noticed that week by week he has become more and more aggressive towards me about comments about my body. He has been trying past last months to get me and lose weight because I'm getting fat, and I agreed, and I am slowly taking the steps to work on it of course. But lately he has become really mean and nasty about it, screaming at me, calling me fat and constantly pointing fat people like, if you aren't going to lose weight, you will look like that one day. Mind to mention I am not like morbidly obese or anything health critical. I am happy the way I am, and I am in fact actually doing something about losing weight, but it's not instant. Last week he called me throughout the 3 hours of working 5 times, made a comment about my weight, even made me stand on an industrial weight to see how heavy I am, throwing a fit when he saw it. And later at a pub when we went for lunch he loudly talked about how messed up I am, how all of this is going to cause me serious medical problems, how I'm going to end up sick and dying early. The problem is my dad is a damn hypocrite. I learned to just take it and ignore his comments, and the fact I am not allowed to complain and he gets mad at me when I mention something he does wrong is just really the fundamental hypocrisy incarnate. He used to come out of being caring, but what was once care now turned into obsession and harassment. Because now he is just being mean to me because he hates to literally looking at me and that I am not his ideal son. God forbid talking with him about sexuality and gay, bi, trans people that I am one of and I respect, but the fact he just cannot drop it hurts me. It's just the fact he thinks I should do whatever he says because you are my son and you will do what I tell you. To the day comes and he arrives next to my apartment and I walk out wearing my PJs to make sure to stay warm, wearing obviously underwear too, since you know I am walking outside in public, looking tired, sick and bit messy since I didn't shower that day, and handed him over a USB with the finished work, telling him I will later have the rest done, but because I was sick I didn't felt like doing much and that we know it can wait too. He then got me to help with the groceries, me already thanking him for the help of course, and him making a comment, oh I might have to use the toilet if you don't mind. And I replied that of course not, it's not a bother. We walk up the few steps and dropping off the groceries next to my door and me getting my keys when this conversation happens. I just stood shook. We barely spoke after. He used the bathroom, said goodbye in a very rude and annoyed tone, slamming the door behind him as he leaves. After I right away called my mom to explain what just happened, and she was living with him. My mom and dad are divorced and we talked about what just happened, her even willing to call him to give him a piece of her mind, to which I of course didn't want it to do, mentioning it LD just made him mad and he would probably do something really that he could harm himself and make it my fault. We talked about it and decided that best is to cut him out and ignore talking to him unless it's something urgent, because if I would just let it go it would got much worse. The thing, I am autistic and I have ADHD, I work differently from others, and of course even I am reasonable enough to understand how messed up this is, and even under a lot of stress/pressure like my dad was, I would never say something disgusting and cruel to anyone, and even this situation is something that a normal person would still needed help with. I am honestly shook from all of this. This really got me anxious and scared because my dad was always to freak out and throw a fit, but it was usually over something small or something that I didn't have to worry much about, as it was mostly justified frustration. But I acknowledge that he'd been acting sick and I believe it may came from loneliness and depression, so I am of course giving him the benefit of a doubt because he was there for me most of my life and always made sure he helped me with anything I needed, but these days he makes it feel like I owe him. I am not really looking for any advice since, as I said, I know what the right action here is with someone who I partially share a similar mindset, but it really scared me and got me stressed out about it because I seriously cannot be the one who thinks this is messed up. Please do feel free to give me your feedback and I will most likely update this post later. I hope that this post isn't too much extreme, as I am seriously looking for others' opinions and maybe some advice how to deal with this further on, even if I know I have a plan. Thank you for reading my post. Forgot to mention, since I didn't felt it was important information, but it might give you a better idea of what kind of person my dad is. My dad was very supportive throughout my life, and despite my parents' early divorce, around 5 years when I was born, he did his best to raise me and was happy to have me. He clearly does care about me and helps out the best he can, but I believe there is something that is really causing him to act out of norm. Again, I believe there might be something sinister going on with his head. My dad is in his late 50s, he is diabetic and requires insulin to maintain his sugar level. He wears prescription glasses, has mild medical issues that limits his movement, and does daily exercise to stay in shape. He rarely smokes and drinks only at special occasions or when he likes to relax. He loves jazz and I really have empathized that, and sadly has a broken dream of having a band. He practices frequently on his guitar and even sports guitar classes for others and is really good at it too. To explain, my dad isn't exactly mean or spineless, but I feel like he's a broken man, molded by cold concrete punk environment of depressed little town that he so much loves to complain about but he doesn't do anything about. After the divorce he didn't seek out happiness to find a partner or attempted to make his dream a reality. He used to be very rebellious in his young age, and I feel like the older he gets the meaner he is. I feel like my dad is just a very mentally ill person, and I am trying my best to understand and help him much as I can, but it just hurts seeing him like this. He is nobody and he refuses to get help, ending up everyone distancing themselves from him. Including me now. I don't believe there is something wrong exactly with him having some kind of mental illness, but I believe he is just losing touch with reality because of the isolation he is putting himself into. He has experienced a lot of hardship in his life, forced into communism and his mum dying because of Alzheimer's. I feel like this very important to mention, as some people thought my dad is a vile being. Yes, he is being abusive, but he refuses to listen to me or people and acknowledge it. King out like a child the moment someone criticizes him. It is really hard to get to someone when they are acting more immature than their own offsprings. Update 1. 2 days after making the post, my dad started bombarding me with phone calls and messages like, "Why aren't you replying? Are you okay?" And I pretty much ignored him the whole day, trying to sleep because as I am typing this, I am still sick and my stitched up wound started to hurt since it's slowly healing. Then out of nowhere I hear it couple hours. I get up looking like crap, and who could you guess is standing there? My daddy dearest in his blissful confusion, looking at me wondering why I am ignoring him the whole day. I never said something like that. I leave and he left as well. After having the time to cook, clean and do some other housework, I just woke up from a sweaty nightmare about my dad practically forgetting everything and me included. This a common thing for me whenever I have guilt or just bad feeling about something from an experience. I attempt to have nightmares about it, and now here we are. Despite how many encouraged me to go no contact with my dad, some mention that it's really some kind of sickness. I have to still tell all to my mom for second thoughts and opinions, but my future plans is once I do get better, him and I will have a serious talk somewhere, but I plan on to leaving the moment he tries to fight back. Despite how much my dad thinks he has the right of "I am your dad, so you do as I tell you," I have the right of "I am your son, so I can leave you and cut you out of my life if I want to." Thank you for reading. There is more that is coming, including a fresh message exchange, but I don't want to get into it. I am still planning on to fully leaving my dad, but I am giving him a chance to try to understand, since I don't want to throw 26 years of my life with him away, obviously. Thank you for your support on my previous post. Going through some things, these are no reasons for are telling your kid they can die. I have experience with him having him literally low or high sugar around, so I am aware he indeed does forget what he said, but he wasn't like that when he arrived. Plus he literally cannot drive if one of his in effect, as he can fall into a glucose shock and pass out while driving. Here are some examples of effect from low or high glucose: low, extremely drowsy, tired, and feeling like needing to throw up. Practically you need sugar to stay awake, otherwise you might literally fall into a coma. Drunk like high, extremely hyperactive, energetic, spewing nonsense sometimes, but still actually somewhat cognitive as you realize the fact of, "Oh shoot, I need my insulin now." Hope this helps. On one hand, choosing not drink and therefore maintaining control of their base impulses is mature behavior, because no one is perfect. But that doesn't mean they're not responsible for their words/actions when they do. He meant it, and I think you know that. He still never gave a proper apology or took any accountability, just gave a bunch of excuses and then tried to play the "I'm your father so I'm in charge" card. You are right on many facts there. I just need to mention my dad doesn't drink or smoke much, just on formal events or just special occasions when needs to chill. He is a health nut freak. Again, I don't have experience with smoking or alcohol, so I have no clue how they all work, but I promise myself to never do that. At least when my dad argues over my bad choices, at least I am not smoking or taking drugs, eh? Lol. Now dad. You are right, he is a product of little town with its mentality. He loves you, it is clear. He doesn't sound terribly entitled to me, as he is capable of saying he is sorry. This is huge. From your description, he doesn't sound like a plotting evil type who would on purpose apologize to you. You are the only family he has. He doesn't know how to care intelligently, and he is immature, and his emotional intelligence is not the greatest. He is rude not out of lack of love for you but due to low cultural level. This is my opinion. I totally get how annoying this criticism is. My parents are the same. All they did, they criticized me. My life, my choices, the way I talk, the way I raise my son, the way I move, things I buy, clothes I wear. They truly believe that I need their instruction/permission to choose my outfit for going outside. I had terrible skin condition due to constant stress, and low self-esteem. Fortunately, I left country of my birth and came to live in USA, where I represented myself and learned many basic things and skilled I was deprived back there. Naturally, my parents had never developed, and visiting them became extremely testing, as I have very low tolerance to this low cultural level. With that, I started seeing that this low development level is not exactly their fault. It is the environment they were in which made them low value despite their great talents. It made them numb. It made them defensive and critical, as this was the only way they could experience power. I totally see this, and it breaks my heart. I may fall out of trending, but I do not see that NC is the right thing to do. I think the right thing to do is to support him. He is struggling. Be stronger. Tell him, thank you. Yes, he will return to criticism because he is desperately afraid of losing you. When in your original post you talked how he always tell you that this or that will cause you an early death. It crossed my mind that he is probably very concerned about his own health issue and potentially early death, and since he depends on you and sees you as extension of himself, low emotional intelligence, he translates it onto you. And he is afraid of losing you, and this is why it is always on his tongue your death. Oop, your words are perfect to describe this mess I am in. Also, you are beyond kind and sweet, and I am very grateful for your kindness and that you took the time to write it all down. For me, again, thank you. To address some things, yeah, I had to deal with that kind of mess for a while, and clearly my dad loves me. I mean, we are literally the last people of our family, and I believe he is worried that his family name is going to end with me, but I know he is just alone and sad because I can clearly see how what I said hurt him, and he didn't raise his voice or was mean, just really sad. I plan on to maybe suggest that he should look for more friends and someone in his life. I understand having a peace of mind in your own life is good for Ounce's health, but too much loneliness can be suffocating. I am planning on to having a serious talk with him. Where? I dunno, but I will address it all with me, probably write it on a paper so that I know all I need to say. I just want to say it's so damn sweet of you looking after my health with food and drinking enough. Smile, that is something I don't hear a lot of people saying, and people should drink more water often indeed. I in fact cook and bake, it's a hobby, and I am well experienced to make lavish dishes for myself. Funny enough, my dad loves my cooking, but he, as you may suggest, says it can't be that healthy eating that with that much egg wash and yada yada yada. You get my point. I do cook indeed healthy too, steaming, rice, and do the usual meal preps too. Thanks to my amazing mom, I was able before moving out to do some cooking. Once I get better, I will buy some potatoes and sausages and make some lovely homemade goulash soup. Update 2. My dad apologized for his behavior and seemingly acknowledged he overstepped a boundary. He seemingly stopped completely with the comments, and I gave him a chance to make it up. He has been very kind and supportive these past days and didn't pester me too much, understood that he needs to give me space, and after a few days we had the talk. I shall give you the short paragraph of what we said. But you have to understand I am a mature adult man and that you cannot treat me like a kid anymore. Yes, I will be always your son, but I have my own choices and I have been doing something with my health to improve it. At least be happy I don't smoke or take drugs. That's worse than mild obesity. And that's really it. I know you all expected some kind of drastic ending, but hey, I am just happy that everything ended well for both of us. He agreed and accepted the fact he was wrong, and I opened up to him and allowed him to make it up to me. He has been very kind lately and is slowly seemingly just happy to have me around. Tomorrow I have plans to go with him to C&A to buy some new clothing for me. I really like the sweater he got me there, and I thought about getting another one and maybe some gloves or winter pants since I could use new ones. I am practically flat broke and live paycheck to paycheck, and I pretty much cannot afford buying new things most these days, so it's nice to have him around to help. Thank you all for reading and reaching out. You have been all great and helpful with your advices. I am just happy that things worked out so well and that my dad got a peace of mind knowing that times have changed and people need to respect boundaries. Sure, he will probably go back onto his ways, but it's not like he will do it to be mean. I am just glad that I have a parent that cares about me again. Now on to second story. Wife insulted my son's girlfriend based on race, so I sided with him, which led to family tension and my leaving. I 53 male, am white. My wife of 30 years Naomi is Japanese. We have 3 kids. This story focuses on my oldest son Kyle, 28. When Kyle first got to college, he began dating a Japanese girl, and when he introduced her to my wife, Naomi loved her. They didn't end up working out. But for the past 3 years, my son has been seeing Danny, a black girl. My son was in medical school across the country, and he ended up meeting Danny because they both were volunteers at a soup kitchen. I remember the first time he sent a picture of her. My wife immediately didn't like her. I'm going to try to phrase this without sounding ignorant myself. But she looks like the urban black girl most think of when African American women. She has the big hoop earrings, the long nails, the long eyelashes. I think she looks stunning, but I've never been in a situation where I was involved in African American culture. Recently my son moved back to our city for residency, and Danny moved with him and started law school. They were staying in an Airbnb while looking for a place, and this week they finally found one. So they invited us over for dinner. Danny cooked soul food and this stuff was amazing. I complimented her food and my wife gave me the side eye. Naomi then pulled out her phone and asked Danny why does she dress like that and why was she twerking in public. Kyle asked his mom what her problem was. I then took the phone to scroll through Danny's Instagram. And while she did have some videos of her having fun, she also had plenty of pictures of her academic achievements. Before Danny could answer, I told my wife Danny is young and having fun. I asked did she see that Danny graduated cum laude or all the times she volunteered. My wife looked angry that I would bring that up. Naomi then said that she thinks that Danny isn't good enough for our son. Danny then asked why Naomi loved Kyle's ex so much. She didn't graduate with honors, she has many different boys that she posted on social media. Danny then said it's evident the reason Naomi doesn't like her is because of her race. Naomi doubled down and said so what? I've never heard Kyle even disrespect his mother, but he told her to get the fuck out. Naomi left crying. In the car on the ride home I asked her what was her problem. She asked why didn't I defend her. I said because she was being a racist and a hypocrite and she's acting just like her parents. Her parents didn't like me because I was white. She just said it's different and was just silent on the way home. And, when we got to the house she locked herself in the room and started crying. I can't feel bad for her because if someone disrespected my wife the way she disrespected Danny I would have absolutely did the same exact thing Kyle did. But Ida because I was also harsh towards her in this situation. NTA. Not to pry, but you've obviously been with your wife for 20 plus years. How is it possible that you didn't know she's virulently racist until now? There was never a situation where we were directly involved with African Americans. She's never displayed this type of behavior. Racism is not a preference. And it's not even about her, it's about my son. Supporting racism is never something I'll do. That's not why I asked this. I'm never going to be sympathetic towards her. I asked if it was too harsh, not if I was wrong. This is a horrible mentality, and at the end of the day my wife is apparently racist. I'm not about to try and understand that. That's crazy. Could I have been kinder? Absolutely. Could I understand where she's coming from? Absolutely not, especially given our situation. I've had contact with plenty of black people. They have never been intricately involved in our lives. Like her siblings never dated black people, neither has anyone in my family. The closest person would be my middle child's best friend and they didn't really connect until the middle of high school. Update, so I want to mention a couple things. First off, I've been around black people. They were never part of my inner circle until Danny came along. Also, I think it is stupid that twerking has a negative connotation. It's just dancing, and the video that my wife found Danny was at a nightclub. She wasn't at church dancing that way. My daughter, Ari, and her mom are very close. So I asked her to breakfast today and we talked. I just asked her if she knew her mom to be racist. She asked why and I told her about the incident with Danny. Ari told me everything makes sense now. She said it was subtle, but when she was in high school, she lost a chess match to a Hispanic boy and Naomi said he must have cheated. But during another round when she lost to a white girl, her mom just said she was really good. She listed a few other incidents, but it was hard to see Ari come to the realization her mom is not who she thought she was. Ari then explained how this is bad because Kyle told her how he was about to propose soon. I guess Ari talked to her before I could because my wife asked how can I bring the kids into argument. I said this argument is about their brother. Our kids are very close so they were going to find out eventually. I said since she's done crying does she want to explain what last night is about. She said it's not that serious. I thought how if my son and Danny got married and had kids I wouldn't be involved if I chose to stay with Naomi and that's not a chance I was willing to take. So I packed my bag and told Naomi if she's not even willing to talk to me, I can't stay in this relationship. She said stop before I left out the door and started crying again. She admitted to having racist tendencies. She also admitted that she's jealous of Danny. She said she was supposed to succeed like her and be smart like her. She said it's not fair. I said it was fair. Growing up my wife was not poor or had it hard by any means. She had access to tutors, the best schools. I said that's a sad and pathetic excuse. She then said she was losing both of us to Danny. I asked how. She talked about how I complimented Danny's cooking, but don't like Japanese food. I explained how I'm just not a fan of Japanese food but I always eat it when she makes it. But it can't be about the food because she already had a problem before we got there. I told her I'm leaving. And that until she changes her ways or get help.